Now the next subject matter is this thing where they got these separations. I'm gonna tell you like Father Divine told me, like I've heard Dumont say, like I've heard Umar build in privacy in the streets and things of that nature, and he simply said one thing: there is no separation in our nation. We're not a nation full of a bunch of groups and sects and sections and sets and all of that. That's not how we are. It's not like you from Sudan and I'm from Lord's Garden, and somebody else is from Medina, and somebody else from Mecca, and we're separate. We're one nation in different geographical locations. Just because you from, say, Sudan or C Medina or whatever, don't mean that your group can only talk to C Medina. Anybody, I could come from Mecca and go to a rally in C Medina, and they'll accept me, as long as I know and understand what I'm talking about. But say I'm unconscious, I don't know anything, they'll still let me come in and do the knowledge. It's not like they got it set up where you can only come in our group if you in our cipher. If say you can only come in our group if we're from C Medina. The only people that can get in our C Medina rallies is C Medina. That's not how it works. That's not what goes down. So with that, I'm gonna say peace. Divine understanding, born of law. You know what I'm saying? From Medina. But knowledge is wisdom, son. I just want to drop a few things. The other day I got an email, and the person was saying that there was some group of so-called, and I say so-called, and I emphasize so-called 5%, that they were saying they 5% and they in the nation of gods and earths, but they don't use 120 because it's racist. And my answer to them is, all you're doing is repeating the devil. And that means that more than likely they probably half originals, or they got a bunch of devils in their organization, and these devils don't want to bear witness to the absolute truth of who's the devil and who's God. So they want to subtract 120 from mathematics, alphabets, and 12 Jews, which is basically impossible or not right and exact. You could do it, but you won't have the same understanding. And you're not in this nation, because this nation follows what the Father gave us. And the Father gave us mathematics, alphabet, 12 Jews, 120 lessons. Now, within the nation itself, you might have some people that have power. Some have power refinement. Some have power refinement justice. That's a fact. You have some people in the nation that may have 12 Jews and may not have 12 Jews. You have some people in the nation that got the 1 to 14 before the 1 to 36. That's a fact. There may be differences in different degrees, like some people's want first degree, and the 1 to 40 might say people or persons or original or man. Those little discrepancies, I'm not going to say aren't in the nation. But when you got somebody talking about 120 is racist and that's why they don't have it, they're not in this nation. They're fronting, son. They're not in one. They're not in the 5% nation of gods and earths. They're not in the nation of gods and earths. They're not part of this. They own shit. They made up their own shit. That's them. All right. So now that's that subject matter. Right. Here's a little bit of, so you can see I'm true and living, son. I got a set of 120. You know what I'm saying? I got 120 back in 1983 from the God I God. So here's our region. You can see our regions. You know, these are the different regions. Let me see. We region 1, because region 1 is dealing with Mecca, Brooklyn, Medina, Pilon, the desert, yada yada yada. I'm not even going to get into the different names, because at one time when we were making these names, righteous names for the different locations that we were in, it was based on geographical location. That's why you would say Mecca and Medina. Yet would be like saying Yathrib and Mecca or Medina. And then if you went across the continent from Mecca to Medina to like Chicago and all those areas, that would have been like Egypt, based on geographical location. If you take America and put it right inside Africa, and you could see where the cities lie, just like if you said Sudan, would have been Texas in that area. That was right and exact. Morocco would be Seattle. Some of these other names I hear It's not geographical names, or it's some made up shit somebody made up, or whatever the case may be. Not to say they're not righteous or whatever, but I'm just saying that's not how it was done in the beginning. Alright? Here's that's what I was talking about. You know, I got power refinement in mind, I got culture of freedom, but everybody doesn't have their lessons that way. But we all do have a set of 120. It just may not be exactly the same. And all those running around here talking about they ain't down with 120, they ain't in this nation, G. That's my word is bond. They in some sideline shit. This is for the next naysayers who said something to the effect, oh yeah, the low-level Masons, their degrees aren't talking about Satan and everything, but their high-level degrees are talking about Satan, and they worship Satan. Lies. Y'all making up shit as you go along. How many of y'all ever even seen a high Mason's degrees, 33 degrees, or whatever the case may be? Now let's keep this real. There are Europeans, because you got to look at this in 3 different folds. Okay, 3 folds is, the first fold is Europeans with Masonry from that they Europeanized it. All right, to make it a long story short, they Europeanized Masonry because the foundation of Masonry, compass square and all that, come from the original people. We know that to be a fact. You could ask any of those Kemet people, any of those people that study that kind of ancient languages, ancient philosophies, ancient cultures and creeds. You know the mystery system actually came from Kemet, or Sudan, Abyssinia, Kenya. It came from the original man. If you want to go even way back into some deep science, and some people don't bear witness to that, but you could say Lemuria, Atlantis, and all of that. Then you could go even deeper and say Red Sun. Then you could go even deeper and go into the lessons and go into the Black Sun. And then you figure out that the foundation to all of this shit ain't even the planet Earth. Planet Earth is a very new planet compared to the original man. But that's another story. We ain't going to get deep like that. We're just going to look at the degree itself. Look at this. Master. Man should not judge as he judges himself. Believe others honest and sincere as he believes himself. Find for their actions the accused that he readily finds for his own. That he readily finds for his own, yada yada yada, goes on and on. But as you can see, you know, I mean, you want to go into the way in the back of the book, the Grand Inspector, Inquisitor, Commander. I mean, that's a high power degree. Here's the other degrees. You can see they're not doing they're not chasing after Satan, G. They not. Now what they have done is Europeanized Solomon's Lessons. They have Europeanized King David, Hezekiah, Boaz, Ruth. They have Europeanized Jesus. They have Europeanized Mary, Joseph, Abraham. They Europeanized it. But they're actually not running after the devil, Forktail and Baphomet and all those mystery devils. Because if you go into the second degree in the 1 to 10, that's the devil. So now that means that anybody that got the second degree is a 1 to 10 as their God, because all you got to do is look at their images and whatever. They the ones, then they worshiping the devil. For that fact, you know, if we want to take it into that level, I'm not going to get all deep into it because we're on YouTube and I ain't trying to, you know, blow it up that way. But I'm saying, based on the 1 to 10, then that's devil worship. All right. Now, based on the actual degrees, they're not. There's their rituals right there, dog. There's no Baphomet in this shit. Now, somebody else was saying, "Oh yeah, I seen this degree from Albert Pike and he was saying this and he was saying that." But Albert Pike did not write the Masonic Lessons. Albert Pike was a European that was a fucking slave master that worked for the South. Of course he had a warped understanding of 120. He had a warped understanding, not 120, my bad. A warped understanding of Masonry, which actually that is 120 because 33 is 33 degrees is 120 in mathematics. You feel me? That's just another way of saying 120. 33.33 is 120. Holla at me, all you mathematicians. Anybody that's a mathematician knows that's a fact. Right? So now let's take it to the next degree. We just did that. We showed and proved the real devil. So based on 1 to 10, whoever is the real devil, if that's your God, then you're the devil worshiper. You feel me? The lessons themselves, these lessons that these Masonic people got, actually the Masonic lessons themselves came from, like I said, Kemet. And the Europeans, they took these lessons and they were supposed to go back to Europe and teach their people and wake their people up to the fact that the world was not flat and that compass and squares, and that the original people did build the pyramids and yada yada yada. And you could go online and find out all the things that the original people did and what we call it knowledge of self. And they were trying to show that to their European brothers to clean them up from the work that Moses had did prior to them, and other prophets had sent certain things up there to try to wake them up, clean them up, colonic flushes and all of that kind of shit, trying to tell them how to eat meat cooked and not raw and things of that nature. So anyway, the people who were in power, like the churches, the Roman Catholic Church in particular, and the Eastern Orthodox Church, which were in major power in those days, and the monarch, because they had kings, they really didn't have governments the way they have governments today. Those people outlawed Masonry due to the fact that it would take their power, because when you enlighten people and you give them knowledge of self, you take the power from the powers that be. The ones who are running the world don't want you to have knowledge of yourself. So they outlawed it. They put a bull out. It's called a bull. They put a bull out saying that anybody caught studying Masonry, compass, square, as they called it, those nigger religions, anybody that was studying that, by penalty of death. So of course the Masons had to go underground, and then it was penalty of death to reveal any of them that was studying these lessons. Now years later, of course, they whitewashed it and they separated black Masons from white Masons and all that other shit we know in the history. But I'm just talking about the actual degrees themselves. If you look at the actual degree, the lesson that they robbed and stole out of the East, those lessons themselves are not satanic. Now, there might be people in Masonry that are Europeans that may go and they might want to go and worship Satan, but they ain't worshiping him in the lodge. They going somewhere else. Just like people will go to the lodge on Saturday and then Sunday they go to church and worship white Jesus. So, you know, if you worshiping white Jesus on Sunday and your white Masonry on Saturday, I mean, it is what it is, but that doesn't mean that you are actually in the quote-unquote sense of the word, as a quote-unquote sense of the word, you're worshiping Satan. That's not what's happening, G. I'm gonna keep it real. And like I said, here's their high power degrees. Here's their major shit, way up in 33, and you know, actually 32, because 33 is honorary degree. But look, you can see, dog, see the Pope and all of that shit. In that sense of the word, I guess they could be worshiping the devil, but they ain't worshiping that fork-tailed, fork-tongued, red horns, Baphomet, and all that. It's not in the lodge, G. Nowhere in there. See? Those are the Knight Templar degrees. Then you have the Christian degrees. You have the Hebrew degrees, because the younger degrees are Hebrew. Then you got the Knight Templar type degrees. Then you got the Christian degrees, or vice versa, whichever fucking way it is. It's irrelevant, but I'm just saying. It ain't Satan. They not studying Satan, G. That's my fucking word. I went through the whole shit to see for myself, because I seen online they kept saying, oh, these cats are devil worshippers. Man, they ain't no devil worshippers, man, in that sense of the word. Now if you're saying the European is a devil based on his actions and the things that he's done to the people, okay, yeah, that could be true. And if you worshiping the European, then you are worshiping the devil. But that's not the devil they're talking about. They talking about Satan in hell, the one with Satan and Lucifer and G. That ain't what's happening, see? Like I said, they deal with life and death, and they deal with culture, creeds, and religions on the sense of their own privacy, as they have their own religions based on man having a religion, but really they look at it as a higher being, like the master architect, and is a mystery god, son. They got a mystery god and a mystery devil, like the rest of the Christians got. Shit, for that matter of fact, the Muslims, and a lot of the Moors, and a lot of the religious organizations have a mystery god. That's a fact. We know that to be the truth, you know. So with that, I'm going to say peace, divine understanding, born of law, wilderness in North America. And like the lesson say, February 20th, 1934. But we talking in the 2000s. Holla at me, and I'm out. Peace.